भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद की ओर से आज की टेलीकॉन्फ्रेंस में मैं आप सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ। पिछले एपिसोड में हमने जाना कि लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ क्या होती हैं, किन कारणों से लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टी एक बच्चे में हो सकती है और उसके लिए पेरेंट्स को और टीचर्स को क्या करना चाहिए। आज हम जानेंगे कि लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टी होने पर बच्चे को, पेरेंट्स को और टीचर्स को किस किस तरह की परेशानियाँ आती हैं, उनकी एजुकेशन के वक्त हमें किन चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए और इन बच्चों के लिए सरकार ने क्या क्या प्रोविजंस किए हैं। सीबीएसई ने भी कुछ प्रोविजंस इन बच्चों के लिए किए हैं, तो हम जानेंगे कि ये प्रोविजंस क्या हैं। आज इस विषय पर जानकारी देने के लिए मेरे साथ दो बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण एक्सपर्ट्स मौजूद हैं। मेरे साथ हैं डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण। डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण इज़ डिप्टी डायरेक्टर ऑफ NIMH सिकंदराबाद. She has a master's degree in science in learning difficulties, learning disabilities and mental retardation. She also holds a PhD degree. Since 1985, she is head of the department in special education in NIMH. She has been awarded postdoctoral research fellowship from Fulbright in the year 2003 and 4. She has been very efficiently implementing 21 projects in learning difficulty and mental retardation area. She has written 23 books and manuals in special education. Apart from this, she has presented many papers in national and international journals. I welcome you, Mrs. Narayan, in our studio.
Thank you.
Our other expert, Shri Pavnesh Kumar, is the controller of examination at CBSE. He joined UP Educational Services in 1978, and since then he has worked in the area of education in different capacities. He has been on advisory panel of nationalized books for school education in UP. He has been involved in implementation of various educational schemes and teachers training program. And Mr. Pavnesh Kumar is very actively involved in CBSE and specifically for the provisions they made for children with learning difficulties. I welcome you, Pavnesh ji, in our studio. कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाने से पहले मैं आपको स्टूडियो के नंबर नोट करा देती हूँ। आप सभी इन नंबरों पर अपने सवाल पूछ सकते हैं। हमारा टोल फ्री नंबर है 1600112345। STD नंबर है 01129532844। दूसरा नंबर है 29532845। एक नंबर और है 29536131। आप फैक्स के द्वारा भी अपने सवाल पूछ सकते हैं। फैक्स नंबर है 29536134। पिछले एपिसोड में हम बात कर रहे थे कि लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ क्या है और जिसमें हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स ने हमें बताया कि किन किन वजहों से लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ होती हैं। डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण, आपके विचार से लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टी होने पर बच्चों को और टीचर्स को किन किन तरह की परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़ता है? व्हाट आर द डिफ़िकल्टीज़ दे फेस? सो कैन यू टेल आवर व्यूअर्स?
Good afternoon, viewers. It's my pleasure to be here. Well, learning disabilities is unfortunately one of the hidden disabilities. So it is not really visible until the child is in school and starts to fail in the subjects, which are misunderstood because of ignorance many a time, as children not studying well or lazy or mischievous or various reasons. If you just look at this vicious cycle that we have in front of us here, here are the low grades of children, therefore they tend to fail, and then they tend to have, the parents are called by the school teachers, and then the children are made to study after school, staying in the school, there are sarcasm. This results in the child feeling dehumanized, frightened, angry, and the feeling becomes a belief in the child that the teacher doesn't like me, or the teacher is being unfair to me, the teacher is mean to me, teacher doesn't understand me, I should get even with the teacher. Therefore, the teacher's ignorance of not able to understand the child results in the student-teacher gap widening. The child continues to give the sloppy work to the teacher, incomplete work, slower work, because he believes whatever I do is not appreciated. And negativism in the student, the secondary psychological problems develop. Ultimately, the cycle continues. To break the cycle, the first thing that we have to do is to understand who is a learning disabled child and what problem, who are underachievers basically, and then who is learning disabled child.
Mrs. Narayan, then we tend to label these children and we say, okay, these are underachievers and this and that. And how can we overcome this situation?
Okay. See, there are various names are used to um, refer to these children. Generally, they are underachievers mainly because their academic performance is not up to the expected level of the classroom. They are also called learning disabled. They are also called gray area or going nowhere or falling between cracks children. These terminology is used because they are intelligent children and therefore they don't deserve to be in a special school with additional attention. But in regular school, they are not able to cope with the regular education stream, and therefore these terminology are generally used, you will find in the Western books. And then you have this group of children who are slow learners, and the same children psychologically are known as having borderline intelligence. Now, these two groups of children who are slow learners and borderline intelligence have an intelligence in them which is about between 70 and 90 IQ, so the borderline intelligence, whereas the learning disabled children have specific problem despite having average or above average intelligence. The problem happens to be in their processing, attention, receiving of information, attention, perception, memory, in all those areas. And you will find them using these terms. You will hear these terms of dyslexia for those children having difficulty in reading, and dysgraphia for those who have difficulty in writing, and dyscalculia for those who have difficulty in doing arithmetic calculations. These are broadly terminology used. And Dr. Hemlata, one other thing I would like to tell you, if you see the UK books, they use the terminology learning difficulties, whereas in United States you find the term specific learning disabilities. Now, the learning difficulties of UK include specific learning difficulties to refer to the learning disabled children, and severe learning difficulties to refer to those children who have mental retardation. So, what I would like to appeal to the teachers is to see that the labels are there given to children. They are underachievers, and we have to be very sure which group we are dealing with, and therefore the programming is suitably made to them.
And Dr. Narayan, what are the common symptoms in these children in the initial years?
Because they are children with specific learning disabilities, very young children in the homes, usually you find the parents not really making a notice that he is different, except that you will hear parents, retrospectively you will find out that the parents say that these children have been hyperactive, or they were not attending to one task for a longer time, and such things. When they start going to school, then you find such symptoms as difficulty in expressing oneself, delay in learning tasks such as tying shoelace, distractibility, inability to follow directions, confusion in left, right, back, front, even many a time, and then difficulty in alphabets, timetables, remembering words of songs or rhymes, poor playground skills because of the motor coordination being poor in them, learning reading difficulties. This you will find them when they are already learning alphabets, and then mixing orders of letters and numbers. And then the teachers normally are the ones who identify them to be having problems once the academics begin in them.
Yeah, and like in adolescence and adulthood, these children face difficulties. So, what are those difficulties?
They have difficulty what they have been doing in childhood that expresses in their adulthood also. You generally find them having processing difficulty of what they hear or what they see, they don't comprehend. They tend to lose possessions, they misplace the keys here, they misplace their other things, poor organizational skills, very slow in reading and not very good in expressing themselves, difficulty in remembering names of people and places, hesitant speech. And generally you will find them having a very lowered self-esteem due to all the past experiences and frustrations of not only failures, but no one has understood them. That frustration tends to be showing up in them in their adulthood.
And, ma'am, sometimes we say, okay, these children are slow learners, and sometimes we say, okay, they are having some specific learning difficulties or learning disabilities. So, how can you differentiate slow learners and children with learning disabilities?
Okay. Slow learners are generally children, as I told earlier also, who see when you say going by IQ, though that is not the only standard measure used these days, uh, functional assessment is also made. But to take a quick example quantitatively, 70 and below IQ if a child has, you will certify him to be having mental retardation. And 90 to 110 IQ is considered as average intelligence. So here is this group between 70 and 90 who you will call as a child who is a slow learner or a child who is having borderline intelligence. Now, these children, as you see, do have limited capacity to learn, and therefore repeated, they will be underachievers in all the subjects in the class, and they need extra support so that they study and they are in the mainstream school and passes. Whereas if you see a child with specific learning disability, he will have average or above average intelligence, but in the processes of receiving information, processing the information in terms of attention and perception and memory, and in terms of contextual output, you will find the child having difficulties. If you look at this definition here, it says specific learning disabilities is difficult, the child's psychological processes involved in understanding or in using language, spoken or written. So how do you know this child has these problems? You will find them manifesting in itself by imperfect ability to listen. So here is a child whom you will be talking to, and he will be not listening to what you have been saying. So similarly, whatever has been listened to, you think and then you make meaning out of it. There will be difficulty in that. Speaking, reading, writing, spelling, and doing mathematical calculations. And there also earlier the other terms used for them included perceptual handicaps, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, dyslexia, developmental aphasia. These were terms used to refer to the same group of children who have specific learning disabilities. What it does not include is those children who have learning problems which are the result of visual, hearing, motor handicaps or mental retardation, emotional disturbance, or any other socio-cultural economic disadvantage. In other words, the child is intact in all these faculties and yet he has a learning problem. This child is suspected to be one with specific learning disabilities. However, the current studies show that learning disabilities can coexist with hearing impairment or any other disability also, but it is yet to be explored to be established.
जैसा कि अभी डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण ने बताया कि लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ जब होती है तो टीचर्स को किन किन परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़ता है। टीचर्स को बहुत बार लगता है कि बच्चे उनके साथ में कोप अप नहीं कर पा रहे हैं या क्लास में पुअर परफॉर्मेंस दिखा रहे हैं। इसके अलावा बच्चों को भी लगता है कि टीचर उनको समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं, उनमें बहुत लो सेल्फ एस्टीम भी हो जाती है और कई सारी समस्याओं का उनको सामना करना पड़ता है। यदि पेरेंट्स और टीचर्स चाहें तो वो इस लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टी को कुछ हद तक कम कर सकते हैं और उसके लिए हम आगे जानेंगे डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण से कि टीचर्स को किन किन गाइडलाइंस का ध्यान रखना चाहिए। उससे पहले मैं डॉक्टर जयंती से पूछना चाहूँगी कि व्हाट इज़ द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ स्पेसिफिक लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ इन इंडिया एंड व्हाट आर द इम्प्लीकेशंस ऑफ दिस।
To be honest, as such in India, right now a survey has not been made to give an exact statistics of how many children are having learning disabilities, whereas the British Dyslexia Association has come up with this number that about 10% of persons with learning disabilities are there in a given population, out of which 4% are severely affected. In other words, if the teachers are sensitive to learning disabilities, about 6% of them can be managed by the teacher. The 4% would require extra support in addition to the teacher's help. Well, in India, it is not yet done. Many of the schools are in mainstream, many of the children are in mainstream schools attending, and an exact number is really not known. A survey has not yet been done in the country.
And what are the implications of the school failures?
These children have academic failures. Because they have academic failures, they have a low self-esteem about them. They don't have very many friends, so socially they feel isolated, and because they are aware they have a problem, it can result in secondary psychological problems in the children. And there have been occasions where these children, to get the peer group approval, tend to steal money from home and then favor their friends so that they maintain their friendship. Somewhere they want a recognition, and therefore they tend to do such an asocial activity or antisocial activities, and or they are absolutely withdrawn because of their low self-esteem and feel very low about themselves. Then they also have further education affected because the academic performance is not good in them, and thus it affects their career also. So current status of such children, if you would like to know, many of them remain in the mainstream schools without any kind of support. They just pass because of automatic promotions that we have for them, or they drop out. Some schools have on their own established resource rooms, or the teachers give extra tuitions, therefore they get some supports. Some voluntary organizations exclusively for learning disabilities are available, and they are giving some supports in various parts of the country, especially the metro cities. And government has schemes for these children in regard to examinations and evaluation, curricular adaptation. If none of these, you find a large number dropping out. I hope with Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan in place, this dropout is going to be reduced and most of the children will be in the mainstream schools.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर जयंती। पवनेश कुमार जी, जैसा कि डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण अभी हमें बता रही थी कि गवर्नमेंट ने भी कुछ प्रोविजंस किए हैं, एंड वी नो दैट CBSE हैज़ सम प्रोविजंस फॉर चिल्ड्रन विद लर्निंग डिफिकल्टीज. So can you tell our viewers about those provisions?
As Dr. Jayanti Narayan has very rightly pointed out, that we need to have some curricular adaptation to facilitate these children with learning difficulties. So CBSE has taken a very important decision, especially at the class 10 level. Children are supposed to have 2 languages, but we have allowed the study of 1 language only to these children with learning disabilities. At the same time, we have not made it compulsory for them that they should study science and mathematics. They can have any other 4 subjects apart from science and mathematics. An important decision is in regard to the offering of languages. Children are supposed to have 3 languages up to class 8, but for these children we have provided only for 2 languages, and even class 10 examination they can go with 1 language only. This is curriculum adaptation, but in terms of facilitation in the examination, we have provided for an amanuensis. If a child has some motor skill problems, we can give him an amanuensis, and he can help the examination with the help of that writer.
Apart from this, I believe CBSE is also involved in teachers training for this specific learning difficulties.
That's right. We are very much aware of this problem, and basically sensitization of teachers is very important. We have undertaken certain programs, and we are trying to make this possible in each and every school, because each and every school has some children which have learning disabilities. And as Dr. Narayanan has said, that British survey shows that 10% children are having this problem. I'm sure in India this figure would not be less. It may be still more because of certain socio-economic patterns that we have in the society. So it's a serious problem that needs to be addressed. And one important aspect which I visualize is that the teachers training program that we have at the moment, perhaps they do not take care of these situations and these skills to be inculcated among teachers. So those programs need to be revised, and we need to orient our teachers right from the pre-service training about the techniques in special education.
थैंक यू पवनेश जी एंड डॉक्टर जयंती जैसे डॉक्टर पवनेश जी बता रहे थे कि कुछ प्रोविजंस हैं जो सीबीएसई ने किया है अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट सम स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स हैव आल्सो इशूड सम ऑर्डर्स रिगार्डिंग टू learning difficulties and I believe Andhra government has also issued
Yes.
some order, so can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have government orders from Andhra Pradesh has a government order for education of children with specific learning disabilities, giving them examination exemption from writing the third language, provision of a scribe, and allowing additional time, exactly as CBSE has done. Similarly, we have also Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Kerala, various governments are giving similar provisions have been made. ICSE has also made provisions. And it is not just examination provision, what is needed is even curricular adaptation and giving them, teaching them for them to learn rather than evaluating them in a method in which we feel convenient to evaluate them. See, many of these children are not good with their written expressions, but they are excellent with oral expression. So provisions should be such that they should be able to express themselves for their learning and not for their writing ability, what they have understood. And also there should be caution, because this is an invisible disability, caution in exactly identifying and diagnosing these children with specific learning disabilities, so that the right children get the special provisions and not a large number of children who don't belong to that category tend to get into this. So this is a little tricky, and we have to take care to see that the children who deserve to get the support get identified and then they get the support. And assessments, for instance, the teachers can do it at a preliminary level to suspect learning problem in children and then have them further assessed for diagnostic purposes. And it's easy for primary teachers to do. Here are some very Indian tests I would just like to show. This is developed by SNDT Women's University, Dr. Smriti Swaroop and Dharmishta Methas. This is behavior checklist for screening children with learning disabilities, just a 2-page thing which helps in screening by the teacher. And then we have diagnostic test for learning disability, again developed by SNDT Women's University, very much useful for teachers to use. And they have also come up with a Swaroop Mehta test of thinking strategies. So this is for thinking strategy, because as we saw in the definition, children with specific learning disabilities tend to have problem in processing information, what they have listened, think, and then make decisions. In addition, NIMH at our institute, we had a research project funded by ICSSR, where we have come up with assessment tool exclusively to be used by primary school teachers. This is, we call it in short form as GLAD, grade level assessment device for children with learning problems in schools. Primary school teachers can easily use this. This has from class 1 to class 4 assessment by the teacher, standard material. We have validated the whole material in this, Hindi, English and mathematics. Simple worksheets are there which teacher can use on her own, various levels, and there is a record sheet, and at the end of it, it would also provide a profile of the child as to what level he is performing in each of these subjects. This gives the profile here, profile of the child, what level he is performing and what is required for him. In Hindi, what level he is, English, what level, and math, what level. And the primary teacher who uses this has given us this feedback that just by going through this testing the child, which tells us the processing problem, we ourselves are able to identify the difficulty in the child, and then we find ways of teaching them without having to get even an additional consultant support, because this test helps them identifying the processing problem in the children. However, a test is not adequately helping a teacher, because test tells there is a problem. So NIMH as a sequel to this has also developed with the UNDP funding a teacher's guidebook which has every learning problem identified through this. In this we have material that will help the teacher correct the learning problem that the child has. This includes, again, to make teacher's job easy, numerous worksheets. At the bottom of the worksheet, it also says what it is checking, what for we are using this worksheet, and what training it is giving. For instance, this worksheet says at this bottom, matra ka prayog. So this is an exercise for using matras. Like that, it goes to more difficult ones gradually from lower level to higher levels. So this book is, because it's a UNDP supported one, widely used in schools now. So the message I'm trying to drive across here is, when a child is identified to be an underachiever, let the teacher not wait for an expert to come and tell, this is the problem. We are losing very many precious days and months and years in the process. Teachers can right away easily suspect the difficulties, or such worksheets the teacher can prepare, as you see in this now. This is a very simple worksheet that says this is a closure problem. If the child has a closure problem, he will have difficulty reading this. If a child has a closure problem, which is a perception problem, he will not see this as a square, but he will tend to see this as a cluster of dots. So these are tests a teacher can give to find out if the child is able to reproduce these designs, simple to complex. If he has a difficulty, she suspects. I repeat, I don't say she diagnoses. She suspects difficulty in the child so that she can refer for further support. And then here are identify the similar ones. Begin with this is a figure ground problem here, where the child has to identify the object. If he has difficulty identifying the object in the center in this picture, he has difficulty of figure ground perception. Similarly, here identify the same design in this group of designs, and if he has difficulty, you suspect he has form perception difficulty. Then go into letters and then into words. These are very simple tests. Again, this is a sample of figure ground perception in the child. Teachers don't have to look for extra material for this. They can just do it, and if they consistently, again the key word here I underline is consistency. Consistently, if the teacher finds the child to be having this problem, please go ahead getting extra support, professional support, so that he is diagnosed and given the right kind of education, and then the evaluation procedure suitably given to him.
Thank you, Dr. Jayanti. As you were telling us that if we have this type of problem, we can identify a child. Suppose I am a parent and I have a daughter that is 9 years old, and she is very slow in writing, and sometimes she writes B instead of D. So how can I suspect, and as how can I know that she is having some learning difficulty? So can you give some tips for parents?
Okay. Again, the tips here is to do with, as I told you earlier, consistency. If once the child writes B instead of D, or 7 in the reverse, or 3 in the reverse, it does not mean it is learning disability. The child should have the problem consistently. The frequency of it and the duration of it is very important to labels. Labels stick, they don't leave easily. So it's very, very important to see that we don't label the children, but correction efforts can be made. And if a very young child in preschool age tends to make this error, you will find almost 60 to 70% of the children writing reverse in the preschool age. So wait to see if it goes away. To second class and he is still having the problem, or first standard he is still having the problem, then we have to worry about it. But showing anxiety to children does not help. But correcting of the errors is a possibility by giving them, as I told you, this book has a lot of very simple tips given in this, or how to help the children with the B and D reversal, for instance. Just give them this hand. Before writing B and D, you just show the hand like this, and this is D. Daye haath D, baye haath B. So very simple and easy for the child to remember. And then when he puts it down, D will be correct and B will be this if it's a Hindi-speaking child. So there are a lot of little tips given where the children tend to remember, and it's fun. Education becomes fun rather than a burden on the child.
Actually, this concept B and D is really very good for me also, and very new. So, can you tell our teachers also who are viewing this program some tips like this? So, if they suspect a child with learning difficulty, or what all they can do?
Okay.
So,
For
some
teachers,
hands-on skills.
okay. For teachers, the step one is to watch for the process of the child's performance. See, usually teachers are interested in the end product and then they correct the paper and give the marks. The tick marks count for the teachers. I would emphasize, I would insist that the teachers look for the cross marks in the papers. Why the error has occurred? Because every child who is intelligent, when he makes an error, he has a logic behind it. CAT cat, he may write KAT cat because C gets a K sound also. Why not put K itself, maybe his argument? Or BOOT, boot. Why BOOK is book? One is a short O and one is a long O. Both are two O's. Why is it so? So these may be the questions in the child's mind when he makes those errors. So we have to look for the processing. Or mathematics, if you take. See, in English or Hindi, when we write from left to right. While you do mathematics, you add units and then the tens and then the hundreds. So you go from right to left. Now we saw in the symptoms that there are children who have right-left confusion. So when you do addition, single-digit addition is fine. Double-digit addition, when it begins, without carryover, he may tend to add the tens first and put the product and then the units. The product will be correct and the teacher will give tick mark and the child will continue to believe I am doing it right. Now the carryover comes and he will continue to do the tens first and then the unit. His logic is left to right, which has been there in the reading. So if the teacher watches the child's performance, so the right to left correction in addition happens right in the beginning when he is doing a without carryover addition itself. So the tip to the teacher in this little time that we have, I would like to drive across is that she remembers to watch the process of the child's performance on the paper. So errors are tremendously reduced and corrected. Number two, look at the cross marks in the exam papers rather than the tick marks to look for a logic in the error. And the errors follow a pattern. The child will continue to have dropping of the ending E, or uki matra is always written as short uki matra. Things like that, there will be a consistency in the error. There the teacher has made the diagnosis, so correction becomes very, very easy for the teacher. So process, I repeat, process watching, and second, error analysis. These are the two tips I would like to give to the teachers with which they will not come to experts for help for children with learning disabilities, because teachers are after all trained, qualified teachers and they know how to handle their students. Yes.
And ma'am, if like you told us error analysis and things like that, so can you tell us some basic exercises that a teacher can do?
Basic exercises, if we have to give, we have to first begin with the, as I told you, process watching gives you the errors. Let us say you give a list of dictation. Let's say if you take Hindi, the child is confusing short E with long E matra and short E matra. So you want to confirm, or Hindi also has the auditory discrimination difficulty. Ka, kha, ga, gha, all the four can be heard and confused by the child. So in the place of ka, the child may write kha. So once you have a list of a paragraph made by the child and the errors noted, look at the errors, and if you are finding that auditory discrimination is a problem, all pa have become ba or all ba have become bha, then you know the child has difficulty in auditory discrimination. Then make an exclusive test for auditory discrimination. Or all long E's are replaced by short E's. Then exclusive dictation with combination of long E's and short E's. So what will happen finally is, if there are 20 errors in the paper, and if you classify the errors will fall into some 3 categories or 4 categories of errors. Then correction becomes easy because the root is 1 for the mistakes. So maybe the teachers can try it out and they'll know what. Similarly, the same thing applies for mathematics or English also, where the type of error will be one, manifesting, showing itself in 4 different places, called as 4 errors. You see? So then the teachers have to look to its base, and then correction becomes easy.
Yeah, like we are talking about, you were telling us that there are three types of learning, specific learning difficulties.
Mm.
We call it dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia. So, can one child have all type of difficulties
Mm.
altogether, or difficulties
Possible,
in other
possible,
things?
but then all
Mm.
dyscalculic children need not necessarily be dyslexic children, and dyslexic children can be very good at mathematics also. What will have, where you will find this is again when it is just computation sums. Uh, these children with dyslexia will do quite well. But if it becomes a statement sum or a story sum which requires reading, dyslexic children have difficulty reading, then you will find that scorecard, that examination marks where there are story sums, their performance is quite poor. So it is very important for the teacher to see what is responsible for the low score in mathematics. Is it the type of exam that we have had which required a lot of reading by himself where he couldn't comprehend and do well, that is why the mark is low, or is it really that he has a mathematics problem? Here usually you will find the mathematics performance erratic in the child if it is computation sum in one test, just computation plus minus division and multiplication, and another one having a lot of story sums, and the first kind of the exam that you have given he has got very good marks, and the second one story sums he has not got very good marks. Maybe he has difficulty in mathematical reasoning, or he is simply dyslexic, we never know. And there are children who are very good at reading but they have difficulty in writing. Reading is an input process, encoding process. Writing is an output process, and you decode while you write that, so they have difficulty doing that. It's very important for us to see whether the child has all the three or they have one of them which manifests on the other two also.
So
Yeah.
suppose a child have all the difficulties, all the things. So then, is it difficult to manage that child, or if the child is having only one difficulty? So,
Mm. To me, as a teacher, no child is a difficult child to manage. All children have their own strengths and then the deficiencies. That holds true for even us. We have our own strengths and our own deficits or deficiencies. So, as long as we are able to identify the strengths in the child and go along with his strengths while trying to fill the gap with regard to the deficiencies. So, no child is a difficult child. You just, if you see the concept of multiple intelligences as put forward by Howard Gardner, he says that it is just not scorecard that matters. Documentary evidence show that even Thomas Alva Edison and Einstein were found to be dyslexic. You see, so reading problem, writing problem alone, or the scorecard alone does not decide the child's ability. There are children who have linguistic intelligence. There are children who are geniuses in music but may not have a very good scorecard, and there are those who are good with logico-mathematical abilities and those with spatial abilities. Dancers, players, you have so many people who have very good spatial abilities. Intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, and bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Yeah, architects and people who are not having, we ourselves know that we have celebrities in the world who have not had a very good school academic performance in them, but then these are the areas that are identified in them and that were strengthened, therefore they are celebrities today. Otherwise we would have missed out on them if we were insisting only on the school scorecards. And I'm not saying ignore school scorecards. It is very important that one does well in the school also, but if it is the child is having, like as you mentioned, severe learning disabilities, it does not mean that that's the end. There are other areas where we can identify and sharpen him so that he shines in his own area of expertise or talents that he has in him.
thank you, ma'am. As Dr. Narayan was, Janti Narayan was telling us about learning difficulties, and she was telling us that these children are very intelligent, but some children are having difficulties in writing or some types of problems. So let's ask Mr. Pavnesh Kumar, does CBSE has any provision for giving them additional time, or the evaluation is being done by such people who are experts in this?
Yes, absolutely. CBSE has provided for an additional type of 60 minutes to dyslexic children, especially who have problems in writing and in reading. Apart from that, even the evaluation of answer books of children with learning difficulties is not done along with routine answer books of other candidates, but we have some few places where we evaluate these answer books, and we have specific instructions to evaluators to be very careful in respect of these answer books, because they are very different children and their answer books have to be looked into very carefully.
Thank you, Pavnesh. Dr. Jayanti Narayan, can you show us some of the writings that the children have done, or like what type of problems children are having?
Here I'll show you this sample of a third or fourth standard. This child was sitting in, actually attending fifth standard, but not even having the reading writing ability of second standard, and gradually he was trained and he started to write paragraphs. If you watch the circled ones, see he is missing out the letters that don't get pronounced, like watching when you say you don't really pronounce the T, so he drops. So he's what you will call such children as predominantly auditory learners. The way they hear, they would write. You see, this is a spelling error that you find here for guess, and here is servant written as severant, if you see. So the letters are there, but they are misplaced. This you would call as sequential memory difficulty. Sometimes children, one is omission, as I told you, silent letters get omitted is a omission error that they tend to make. And many a time in English, omission error you will find in dropping the ending E's in words, because ending E never gets pronounced, so they tend to drop off the ending E. And then there are rules, linguistic rules are to be followed. The thing that I have found in experience is that working with these children, we give them the linguistic rules. For instance, if you want to tell them when C gets pronounced as K and C gets pronounced as yes, yeah. So if we want to tell them that, we may just get across to the child by telling him that C followed by A and O and U will get a K pronunciation, like CUP cup or COAT coat or CAT cat, whereas C followed by I and U will be I and E will have a S pronunciation, central CENTRAL, so such things. Here is
We have got
the
a
rules they follow.
Yeah, sorry, we have got a call from Bhubaneswar, so we'll
Yeah.
take that call. Hello, please.
हेलो
Yes. हेलो, अपना सवाल पूछिए.
हेलो
हेलो.
हेलो
हेलो, please ask your question.
हेलो सूजी मुझको क्या सूजी हेलो my question is how the parents are they know their child with learning disabilities.
Okay. Any other question? Okay. So we can continue the discussion and then we can take. Hello. जी, yeah, we can.
Yeah, so I was telling about giving the children the linguistic rules, and the example I was giving was the use of C with the K and S when they will get the S sound and the K sound. So as I was telling earlier, most of the children with specific learning disabilities have average and above average intelligence, and therefore getting them across the reasoning, once we manage to get it across to them, they will be able to get the words correctly. So here is another
Ma'am, we have got a call from Chennai, so
Yeah,
we'll be
okay.
taking that call.
Okay.
Yes. Hello. Please
Hello,
ask your
we are
question.
calling from the Spastic Society of Tamil Nadu,
Yes.
Chennai.
Yes, please ask your question.
We have 4 questions.
Yeah.
The first question is being asked from Children Garden School, who are here watching the teleconference with us. What are the efforts to be taken to promote the LD children in academics, especially in the early intervention period between the age group of 3 to 5. Question number 2. Do children with dysgraphia have the privilege of having a scribe for the exams? And we would like to know the status in Tamil Nadu. Question number 3. How can we deal with children who are interested in oral performances but fare very poor in the written performance? Question number 4. How to make the children who do well both in written and oral examinations, but they are not able to do the same in examinations? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So I think we can, two questions are linked with each other, like dysgraphia. Do the children with dysgraphia are given a scribe for examination, and they are asking particularly for Tamil Nadu. And as far as CBSE is concerned, so as Pavnesh ji has told us, they provide the scribe to the children with dysgraphia also, and for the children in Tamil Nadu. And,
this compilation that we have made, in this we have put in the Tamil Nadu's GO. This says School Education Department GO number 47 dated 18/2/99, and then it says that the all students dyslexic and others with disabilities who are appearing for secondary school, higher secondary school, matriculation, Anglo-Indian ESLC and other government examinations, after scrutiny, the recommendation from a panel of doctors, psychologists, educationists along with the earlier case history sheet from the school will be provided with the support. That is what this says. So I am sure dysgraphic children, once diagnosed and cleared by this panel, will be getting the state government support. I repeat, the government order number is 47, Government of Tamil Nadu School Education Department, Government Order number 47 dated 18/2/99, and I think this will help you clarifying your doubts.
And the second question, the second question is about oral. Is there any facility for those who are good in oral performance and they are not good in writing? So I think this question answers this also. So we will be taking a call from please give the call.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, please ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, please ask your question.
Madam, we would like to know, some children have problems in writing.
Yeah.
In other areas they are fine.
Okay.
So kindly tell us the strategies to be used to motivate the child to write.
Okay.
Then second question, is any institution offering any course on learning disabled in distance mode?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So as we were talking about the questions earlier that was asked from a Spaston, the first question was, what are the efforts to promote learning difficulties in children in academics in the age group of 3 to 5? So are there any efforts for that?
Usually in one small study that we conducted at our institute, where we retrospectively asked the parents of children who are diagnosed as later having specific learning disabilities as to what were the things that they found different about this child before he entered school. And here the parents told us, one, as I mentioned earlier, was hyperactivity or not attending to a task or completing it, and does not listen to whatever is told totally before he gets into an action. It's not impertinence not listening. It is, he just doesn't wait for you to finish with your command before that he gets into action, and the motor milestones were not delayed, but the speech and language, not even language, speech milestones were delayed, because his understanding capacity was, children's understanding capacity, comprehension was good, but verbally expressing was delayed. So this was very specifically, significantly found in the study. Some 87 parents we had found saying this, but then you also have to give an atom of their parents having to recall so many years back about the child's behavior, but significantly these things stood out as major things, and also right-left confusion of the slippers and shoes, which parents said other children also tend to have that, so I thought we would discount that. And however, if the child tends to be having difficulty in coordination or difficulty in his speech, and when the coloring activity, that is what you call as pre-reading, pre-writing activity itself, if you find he's showing no interest in the books or not able to identify similarities and differences in pictures, very, very important in terms of perception, that the children's ability to identify similarity and differences of two objects. Not only differences, teachers and parents tend to focus on differences, but we have to ask for similarities. If two different flowers are shown, ask the child what is similar about this. Let them say both are flowers, both have petals, whatever, and say this is green and this is white and this is pink or whatever. So if a child fails to do that at the preschool age, similarity of glass and stainless steel glass, what is similar and what is different, let the child be able to say that, these are at concrete level. The parent will be able to make out whether the child is capable of responding to this, or you should have an amber light, start getting worried about it, or start making sure that he is performing well. So it will definitely help us prevent or arrest further damage in the child. Yes, in early intervention, going back to answering your question, in preschool age, definitely at concrete level, working towards perception of the child, memory of the child, attention of the child. If you just give a little focus, I'm sure you will be able to see the difference in the child and also help to bridge the gap. We will be able to do that.
Yeah, there was one question from Chennai, that if a child is good both in writing and oral skills in general, but during examinations he is having difficulty, he can't write, is there any provision for that? And I think we cannot call these children as children with learning difficulties, and we must ask Mrs. Jayanti Narayan about this.
See, exam skills itself is a skill. Giving examination, what you have learnt in 1 year, try to give that in 3 hours time, and organizing yourself for giving that examination, what you call as study skills and examination giving skills. That's why in schools nowadays as a system they give a lot of smaller tests and pre-final exams and all, preparing children for examination. What happens to a child with specific learning disability is, he would have learnt, as I've been saying repeatedly, he would have learnt, he would have understood in his own way what has been taught, but presenting it the way the examination board would like it, he has a difficulty in that. So let us say he is not able to see. Examination requires time management as number one, and number two, the material that you are presenting. For a short notes, if the same is asked for an essay, how much to expand and how much to reduce it for a short note or an essay, he should be capable of. All of these things require, as Dr. Hemlata said, even for non-learning disabled children, some amount of preparation. When the child has a learning disability, it becomes more complex. So the best way to help, and another thing you will find, or you will agree with me, is that the parent telling, the same exam that you have told me to give it at home, I tried giving him, he did perfectly at home, there was absolutely no problem. In school he is not performing. Well, the parent thinks that she has not helped. But even if she has stayed in the kitchen and said, what are you doing? Kar rahe hai ki nahi? Exam mein diya hai, time ho raha hai. Even such prompts given by the parents from the kitchen is a prompt to the child if he has been looking here and there and coming back to the answer book. When he is doing that in a 3-hour exam in the examination hall, nobody gives prompts. So if he starts to look out through the window, he continues to look out, and then he runs out on time. and the answer book will show last pages nothing has been written or scribbled, and that goes down. So therefore, what I'm trying to highlight here is to have the child have a self-check within him in time management. This is one thing I find largely missing in children who come with examination skills are poor, but the learning ability is there in them. It's an issue that we have to work towards. And also parents to be sensitized when they say, I have never helped. They are right, they have not helped academically, but they have helped by giving prompts that has helped him manage his time. Even that exam hall does not give him, so then you find him failing and you are surprised at it. And that very frequently happens. Once sensitized, they come round, yes, and they are able to perform better.
And there was a question from Tirupati that is there any institution conducting courses in learning difficulty in through distance mode? So I think there is no institution conducting programs in learning difficulty in distance mode. Do you feel is there any institution,
I am,
or are there
I am
any
not-
programs for teachers where they can get training to deal children with dyslexia? Or
So distance mode I am not aware of.
okay, and regular
really.
programs.
There are NGOs like Madras Dyslexia Association or Alpha to Omega, and SNDT Women's University Special Education Department has at B.Ed level and at M.Ed level learning disability courses are offered. Distance mode, I did think there was one in Punjab. I'm not sure currently whether there is a program at all. I'm not sure.
And there was a question from Tirupati, writing को moderate करने के लिए what are the strategies that can be adopted by teachers and parents for moderating the writing of children with specific learning difficulties? And actually we are short of time, so for this you may contact Dr. Jayanti Narayan. She will be guiding you about some manuals or some booklets, or as
These
she was
books
telling
also
us.
will help.
Yeah. So for that you can contact her. So now I think we can wind up this session. And आज की चर्चा में हमने जाना कि लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टी होने पर एक बच्चे को और एक टीचर को किस किस तरह की समस्याएं आती हैं, और ऐसी कौन सी बातें हैं जो टीचर्स को ध्यान रखना चाहिए. CBSE के जो प्रोविज़न्स हैं उसके बारे में पवनेश कुमार जी ने हमें बताया. यदि आपको इस विषय में और कोई जानकारी चाहिए, या जिस तरह की चर्चा अभी हम डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण से कर रहे थे उससे संबंधित कोई जानकारी आपको चाहिए, तो आप RCI में लिखकर भेज सकते हैं, या डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण से या पवनेश कुमार जी से संपर्क कर सकते हैं. डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण का पता है डॉक्टर जयंती नारायण, डिप्टी डायरेक्टर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट फॉर मेंटली हैंडीकैप्ड, सिकंदराबाद, आंध्र प्रदेश, पिन 500009, फ़ोन 04025501202, ईमेल jnarayan@yahoo.com. आप पवनेश कुमार जी से भी संपर्क कर सकते हैं. आपका एड्रेस है श्री पवनेश कुमार, कंट्रोलर एग्जामिनेशंस, CBSE, शिक्षा केंद्र 2, कम्युनिटी सेंटर, प्रीत विहार, दिल्ली 92. फ़ोन है 01122515828. अगली टेलीकॉन्फ्रेंस में भी हम लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ के ऊपर ही फोकस करेंगे, और इसमें हम जानेंगे कि डिफरेंट टाइप की लर्निंग डिफ़िकल्टीज़ होने पर हम किस तरह से स्ट्रेटजीज़ अपना सकते हैं, किस तरह से क्या क्या किया जा सकता है उनसे ओवरकम करने के लिए. और इसके विषय में जानकारी देने के लिए हमारे साथ संगत गोवा से एक्सपर्ट्स मौजूद रहेंगे. ये संस्थान इस एरिया में काफ़ी दिनों से काम कर रहा है. And I thank all our viewers, experts and the colleagues of EMPC for giving their active support. And at the end, I would like to say that we need to be innovative and creative, and we need that our children do work. And for that, we need to make efforts, make them do exercises and other things. And these two lines are appropriate in this context. Tell me, I may forget. Show me, I may remember. But involve me and I will learn. Thank you.